Oh, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena gratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Amba Tvamanusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Devyaistavai Vedai Changa Padakramo Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samaga Vastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidutsura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Om Shri Ganeshaya namaha Om Shri Saraswati namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo namaha. But we can summarize what we have studied so far in the 13th chapter. So it starts with Arjuna's question, and he asks Bhagwan Shri Krishna for 6 things. What is Kshetra, Kshetragnyam? What is Jnanam, Neyam? And what is Purusha, Prakriti? So these are the 6 things. Etat Veditum Ichchami. Oh Bhagwan, I wish to know them. So Bhagwan Shri Krishna starts with Kshetram. And he says, Idam Shariram, this body, not only this body, my body, but all bodies, all humans, plants, birds, animals, fish are Kshetram. Even the inanimate objects are all Kshetram. Are all Kshetram. And that is what he says, Mahabhutani Ahankaraha Buddhir Avyaktamevacha Indriyani Dashaikancha Pancha Chendriya Gocharaha. So he says that everything you see is Kshetram, all bodies, all the unmanifest vasanas, the intellect, the mind, the 5 sense organs, 5 organs of action, and the sense objects. So everything is Kshetram, that is, we have to know. So, and that we have seen that whatever I see, hear, smell, taste, touch, not only in this world, but any world, even heaven, even hell, even all the planets, galaxies, everything is Kshetram. So who is Kshetragnyam? Who is the knower of this field? So Bhagwan Shri Krishna says, Kshetragnyam, Chapi Mam Vidhi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. Know me as the Kshetragnya, as the knower of the field. When Bhagwan mentions I as the knower of the field, he does not refer to I as the son of Devaki and Vasudev, the flute player of Vrindavan, the beloved of the gopis, but I as the self, the consciousness, that is the self of all, that is the knower of all. Everything is known to that. But then Arjuna says, Bhagavan, you didn't explain this in more detail. Can you explain this Kshetrajna in more detail? Right now you have talked in quite a bit about Kshetra, everything that I see. So Bhagavan says, Kshetrajna, I will talk in more detail when I talk about Neyam, Jnanam Neyam, and Prakriti Purushaha. So when we talk about Purushaha, when we talk about Neyam, then more details will be given about this Kshetrajna or the knower of the field. So before we go to the next topic, which is Neyam, which is what is to be known, Bhagavan Shri Krishna talks about Jnanam. Now, Jnanam normally is understood as knowledge, right? What I know is Jnanam, but it's very interesting. Bhagavan, in Jnanam, he gives 20 values. You say, well, 20 values are not Jnanam. I already know them. But what Bhagavan is saying that unless you have these values, whatever I tell you will not, dimag mein nahi jayega. It will not stay in your intellect. It will come and it will be gone. So mental purification, purification of mind is very important. Unless our mind is pure and has all these values, no matter how much we listen to the Guru, no matter how much Bhagavad Gita we read, no matter how many YouTube videos we watch, purification of mind is very important. And what is purification of mind? Developing these 20 values. So in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will cover these 20 values. Actually, in our Bal Vihar, the 20 values take 20 weeks because each week the children are taught one value. That is how our teachers do that. But we are not going to spend 20 weeks in them. We'll try to finish it in 2 or 3 weeks, these 20 values. Each one is very, very important. Just as in the 12th chapter, he had talked about marks of a devotee. Here he is talking about these 20 values. If I don't have them, I need to develop them. And if I have them, I should strengthen them. Then only the values will benefit me, and then only my knowledge will be clear. So here in Jnanam, he's talking about values. So we'll start with verse number 8. Amanitvam adambhitvam.
Amanitvam adambhitvam.
Ahimsa kshantirarjavam.
Ahimsa kshantirarjavam.
Acharyopasanam shaucham.
Acharyopasanam saucham.
Sthairyam atma vinigraha.
Sthairam atma vinigraha.
Together, if you can please mute. Amanitvam adambhitvam. Ahimsa kshantirarjavam. Acharyopasanam shaucham. Sthairyam atma vinigraha. So in the first shloka itself of values, Bhagavan explodes a bombshell. He has given us 9 values, and we'll try to cover all of those today. And if we can, we'll go to the next shloka. But these values are so important that each one takes a lot of time. So we'll see how much we can do, but otherwise we'll go to next week. So amanitvam. Manitvam means pride or arrogance, that I am somebody great. Amanitvam is humility, not having this pride, arrogance of about my greatness. Adambhitvam is connected to amanitvam. What it means is pretentiousness, showing off, showing more than what I really am. So that is dambha. So adambhitvam is not showing off, not being pretentious. Ahimsa, everybody knows. Gandhiji, we just celebrated his birth anniversary yesterday. And we have Gandhi Jayanti program today, but ahimsa is not only non-violence, but it is non-violence at action, speech, and mind. So we'll talk about that. Kshanti, the word Kshanti is translated by authors in many ways. It is translated as forgiveness, as patience, as titiksha. So we'll cover all the aspects of Kshanti. It's not Shanti with the SH, but it is Ksha, K-S-H, Shanti. Then Arjavam. Arjavam means straightforwardness. That's why Arjuna, he got the name Arjuna, because he was very straightforward. What he said, he meant. What he was thinking, what he was speaking, and what he was doing, everything he carried out, and he was very honest and straightforward. That's why Bhagavan Shri Krishna gave him that knowledge, because he found him to be a worthy candidate. Why all the others didn't get it? You know, there were so many other Pandavas and Kauravas and, you know, so many brothers. Why did Arjuna get it? Because he had Arjavam. And we'll talk about Arjavam. Acharya Upasanam. Acharya Upasana means service to the teacher. And here people have a problem. Why should I serve the teacher? So we'll talk about that. Acharya Upasanam. Shaucham. Shaucham is purity or cleanliness. Stharyam. Stharyam is steadfastness. Whatever I say, I will do it. And Atma Vinigraha. Nigraha means to completely control. Atma Vinigraha means self-control. So these are the values we should cover. Now, humility, Manitvam. First of all, what is Manitvam? We think that I should have pride in my, you know, what I have. And we think that humility is a sign of weakness and pride is a sign of strength. But Jesus said it very beautifully. He said, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Proud people usually, that's why they say, no, pride goes before the fall. So when somebody is proud or arrogant, he usually will come to a fall. But one who is humble and quietly does his or her work, ultimately they will succeed. So what are the things that we are proud of? You know, what are the things? So I'm very proud of my house. You know, I have this huge palace on the country club. You know, I have 10 bedrooms. My car, if it has to be over $50,000, less than that, it's not worth buying. What kind of jewelry I have, how many carats I'm wearing, how many saris I have in my closet, you know, how many memberships of golf I have, and how many, you know, Rotary Club. So pride becomes of position, becomes of, you know, I am a VP of this company or I'm a CEO of this company. So pride can be of possessions, can be of objects, can be of position, can be of house, can be even of child. You know, my child, he's so smart or she's so smart. She did Arangetram single-handedly 2 hours. Other person who has no interest in music will say, "Isme kya hai?" My child is Google scholarship he has got. Arangetram kuch nahi hai. Third one says, but can your child do chanting? My child knows the entire 12th chapter. He can chant from memory. And so it is what we give shobhanam to, what we think is important. You know, some people give importance to objects, some people to possessions. Not only that, but they look down on others. If they don't have as big a house as I have, if they don't have, it's not worth associating. If they don't live in the country club, not worth. So that is manitvam. So what, and people also have manitvam of spirituality. And I am more spiritual than all the others. See, I go to the temple 3 times a week. The other guy, I never even see him in the temple. Maybe that person is praying for an hour every day at home. We don't know. So to judge people, that is also, or I, you know, attend Gita class. I know Sanskrit shlokas. I can chant. The other person cannot chant. So manitvam can be of anything, you know, holier than thou. You know, I do so many malas. I do so much japa. So they say that what is manitvam? Manitvam is where we give shobhanam buddhi. Where do we give importance to? That this is important. Shankaracharya ji very beautifully in his commentary says, manitvam is nothing but self-praise. Or koi praise nahi kar raha, let me praise myself, my child. They say if you don't show, like, in marketing, you have to, praise yourself. You have to praise your product. Otherwise, so same way, if I don't tell others about myself, how will they know? But think about it, a flower, does it go around telling everybody I have a great fragrance? No, the flower quietly sends forth fragrance and the bees come. The flower doesn't need to advertise, look, I have opened, and no, the bees automatically. So if a person is good, he does not need to praise himself or herself. People will come to know. And the problem with manitvam is that we get arrogant about temporary objects, because anything is temporary. My house, my money, my jewelry, my everything I have to leave. Nothing will go with me. Nothing is permanent. Sooner or later, it will go away. My stock market, one day is up, next day it will be down 2,000 points. We don't know. So arrogance about anything is harmful. Bhagavan says the only thing one should be attached to is I, the self, the consciousness, Bhagavan. That is the only thing one has to be attached. Everything else is changing, is temporary. Only thing that will go with me are my karmas and my spiritual knowledge. All these things that we are holding on to will be dropped. The best example of amanitvam is Hanumanji, most beautiful example. He goes to Lanka. Remember, he went to Lanka and destroyed Lanka and set fire and did all those things. And when he came back, Bhagwan Sri Ramchandra ji said, wow, Hanumanji, you did such a wonderful job. We are all so proud of you. He started praising him and tears came to Hanumanji's eyes. He fell down at Bhagwan's feet. He said, Bhagwan, please don't praise me. Please don't praise me. I'm just your servant. It is you who did everything. See the amount of humility. He said, I don't do anything, Bhagwan. You are the doer. And wherever he goes, like when he goes to Mother Sita, he says, she asked him, who are you? He says, Main Ramadoot, Matu Janaki. I am Ramchandra ji's servant. Nowhere he says, I am Hanuman. Nowhere. Everywhere he gives his title as Ramadoot. When he meets Vibhishan ji, he says, Main Ramadoot. Because he understood that without God, nothing can happen in this world. No matter how much we think we are doing it, it is God behind it. And if you think about how Hanumanji reached Sri Lanka, Ramchandra ji had a big role in it because he assigned Hanumanji to go south, where he knew that the maximum possibility of Sita ji to be found is in the south. And he sent Jambavanji. Jambavan knew that Hanumanji could fly, and he reminded him. And then on the way, they meet Jatayu and his brother, who tell them, Sumati, where Sita ji was. So everything was planned by Ramchandra ji, but he kept himself in the background and let Hanumanji get the glory. But Hanumanji was very smart. He understood that without God's grace, nothing will happen. So as long as this I is there, Advaita we cannot practice. What is Advaita? That there is only one, there are no two. When I am one with all, then how can there be an amanitvam? How can there be manitvam? It automatically makes it amanitvam, that I don't have any arrogance. I don't have any pride. In the path of bhakti, you say Bhagwan is doing everything. It is Bhagwan like Hanumanji. In the path of knowledge, you say, I am the self. I am all are me. I am that. So then there is no separation. There is no manitvam. There is no arrogance. And what we say that somebody who is very successful, he has made an internet company. He sold it for $2 billion to Facebook or to Apple. And then now he's sitting comfortably. He's very successful. But masters say if he has not progressed in spirituality, his trip to Earth is a failure. He has wasted his time. He may have accumulated millions. He may be living in a palace. He may have a lot of companies. But if he has not realized the truth, he has wasted his trip. Your 80 or 90 years on this earth have been wasted if you have not progressed spiritually. Maybe you don't reach enlightenment, but if you are on this path, your trip is successful. So then people say, you mean I should not have self-respect? You know, that I'm proud to be a Hindu, or I'm proud to be a spiritual seeker. Yeah, you should be. If you're proud to be a Hindu, then what that pride is, not just go around saying, but study Hinduism, study the fundamentals. What did the rishis say? So have pride in your knowledge of Hinduism. Now, don't just go around say, you know, I'm belong to this caste, I'm a Brahmin. You are a Brahmin, but do you have qualities of a Brahmin? Do you know the Vedas? You don't even know the name of the 4 Vedas, and you call yourself Chaturvedi. What is the use of that? So you say, I'm a proud mother of 2 children. That's very good. You're a proud mother. Then make sure those children study well and become good citizens. So if I'm if I'm a volunteer, I'm proud to be a volunteer. Okay, then if you are a volunteer, then do things without being asked. Share, contribute, help. Then you can say that I'm proud to be a volunteer. I'm proud to be a sevak. But the pride is not just in the name, but the ability to serve. So that is amanitvam, where the person has no arrogance despite great achievements. The next is adambhitvam. Dambha is show off, to show off something that I am not. So how do these people do it? They won't serve otherwise, but when somebody is watching, then they will start cleaning, or they will start to show off. Or if they normally won't do charity, but if they find that newspaper people are there, TV people are, they'll write a check and show everything. So they are doing anything so that people may notice, you know, how great I am. They want to show off what they are not. And inside, they may be very proud, very, you know, selfish and all, but outside they want to show I am such a generous, such a kind person. I'm so kind, compassionate. And they think that people don't know, but ultimately everybody knows. See, if you think you can hide, you can only, that's what they say, you can't fool all the people all the time. Sooner or later, people come to know. So they say that whatever you are doing, do it silently. You don't have to show off. You don't have to brag. I have this, I have that, I have done this, I have done that. You do whatever you are supposed to do. And if people notice, that's fine. If people don't notice, he is noticing, right? Ultimately, for whom are you doing? For Bhagavan. And he knows everything. So why even worry whether I got recognition or not? Nobody praised me. Nobody, doesn't matter. I do what is my duty. I don't need to show anybody because I only need to show him. And Bhagavan notices everything. They'll say also in the spiritual path, one has to be careful. Like if you start showing off, you know, I do so much japa, I meditate so many hours, I go to so many classes, I go to the temple. Even spiritual sadhana, they say, should be done quietly. You don't need to tell others how much japa you're doing, how much meditation, because then the power of that goes down. So do whatever you have to do it quietly without attempting to show off. Yeah, if somebody wants to know or wants to learn how to do it, then you can say, okay, you know, I sit and 20 minutes, I do this half an hour. So for that purpose, it is okay, but just to show off is not good. So that is dambha. Dambha is show off. Then comes himsa. Ahimsa is non-violence. Himsa is violence. Now, himsa can be at 3 levels: manasik, vachik, and kayik. Manasik means mental, vacha means speech, kayik means action. So action can be at violence, can be the action level, at the speech level, or at the mind level. Action level, we don't go around beating people or throwing stones. You know, I mean, generally, most of us, we don't go around hitting or fighting with people. But speech, yeah, we are very good. We can be very sarcastic. We can hurt others with our words, so they say, speak softly, speak gentle. And where does that come from? When there is anger is within, then anger will come out as speech, will come out as violence. So having peace within, manasik ahimsa, is very important. Then automatically when if your mind is angry, you will be agitating yourself, and sooner or later you will agitate others. But if I have peace in my mind, regardless of what anything has happened, I heard a very beautiful statement. They said, ahimsa is our nature. And when we have ahimsa, then what is like a fertile soil. The soil is fertile, beautiful fruits and flowers come out, and that is kindness, compassion, love. But what happens if that soil gets choked by weeds, full of weeds, then no beautiful plants will come out. They will be obstructed. So what are weeds? Weeds are selfishness, arrogance, pride. So if that is there, then my true nature will not manifest. So that is ahimsa. But then people ask, how about cockroaches and ants and rats in the house? Should we kill them or not kill them? Is that not ahimsa? They say, but for self-protection, it is okay. If there are cockroaches in your house, mosquitoes, ants, rats, they need to be eliminated, because I have to protect my body so I can do more sadhana. Like if I get pneumonia, right, and I have a high fever and my one lung has a big patch on it, you say, I'm not going to take antibiotics. I don't want to kill the bacteria. That is foolishness. You are taking antibiotics to kill bacteria. That is himsa, but that I am doing for self-protection, so that I may save my body, so that I may do more service, I may do more sadhana, I may evolve. So people always have this question, should we, if a fly comes in the house, if you can remove it without killing it, it's okay. But most of the time, that's why we call pest control, right? He comes and sprays every month. That is himsa, but that is necessary. Otherwise, our house will be filled with pets. Same thing at the national level. The country has to protect itself. That's why they call it defense force. That if a neighboring country attacks, I should defend myself. I should not go out and attack other countries, but if they attack, we should defend. And that's the mistake we made in 1962 when the Chinese came. We were saying Hindi, Chini, bye-bye. We didn't prepare our army, and they just came and took our land. And that is foolishness. One should be strong to protect one's borders so that nobody dares to, attack us. So that is very, very important. Then people ask, how about children? Should we discipline them or not if they're doing the wrong thing? And if I scold them or if I shout at them, isn't that himsa, vachasik, speech? No, it is not. If it is done to hurt the child, yeah, but if it is done to correct the child so that the child may become a better citizen, then that is not himsa. So the attitude behind is very important. Why am I shouting at the child? Why am I correcting the child? And that's why the thoughts within manasik himsa is worse, but manasik ahimsa is required. And where does this come from? It comes from all these violent shows. The TV is full of violence. Children, when they are playing on their computer or on their phone, they're playing violent games. They are shooting all these aliens, killing them. So when they grow up with this kind of violence, then for them shooting is normal. Then those are the ones who then go out, take a gun and shoot, in some church or in some school. Why? Because we have normalized violence. It's okay, So the point is that if somebody is disturbing me, I can do two things. One is I can eliminate him. That's allopathy, finish it. Or I strengthen my immunity, that is Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, they don't attempt to eliminate the disease. What they do is they strengthen our immunity. So when my mind, I should strengthen my immunity, make my mind strong, so that even if somebody is disturbing me, I don't get disturbed. So then that is a mind that is full of ahimsa, that is full of inner strength, inner calm, where nobody can disturb such an individual. So that is ahimsa. Then Shanti. Shanti is forgiveness. And forgiveness, we have seen in the lives of all these saints, even though they were hurt so much, they completely forgave them. In fact, a true saint does not even think that he was hurt. If somebody hurts him, he says it's okay. He just spontaneously forgives, because in his mind, there is no other. He sees oneness, that everything is me. And if somebody is hurting or not hurting, it is all me that is happening, or I am the consciousness, and whatever is happening to the body. In either case, his forgiveness is complete, because he understands that the other person is acting out of ignorance, out of hatred, out of arrogance. But he says, forgive him, I forgive him. And ultimately, everybody pays for their action. So it's not that the saint is wishing for them to happen, but the law of karma says that whatever we do, we suffer that. So, but the saint works out of oneness, out of compassion for all, and has no hatred and total, complete forgiveness, because he understands that the other person is ignorant. Then the other meaning of Shanti is titiksha. The saints have extreme titiksha. What is titiksha? The ability to withstand the pinpricks of life. Life is going to give me problems, going to give me difficulties. But if I have titiksha, if I have Shanti, if I have the strength, then I can bear all situations. I heard a very beautiful example. They say, like, suppose you need to walk across a field or across a road, and road has a lot of thorns and stones and rocks, and you want to walk barefoot, and you start walking and the thorn is poking you, the glass is poking you, the stone, you say, cover the whole field with carpet. You can't cover everything with carpet. What do? Wear shoes. If I wear shoes, then no matter how many thorns, how many glass pieces, how many rocks. So similarly, this Shanti is like that shoe that gives me inner protection. No matter how many thorns people throw at me, how many things, but I do not get disturbed. So that is it. Make your mind strong. Do not depend on the world to give you happiness. And this comes with patience. Patience is very important. You have to be patient with yourself. Why don't I have all these qualities that Bhagavan is saying? I need more patience. That's why mother said to God, oh God, please give me patience, but hurry up. He says, give me patience, but give it quickly. I can't tolerate my children. So it comes slowly. So that is called Shanti. Shanti means patience, forgiveness, titiksha, all that is Shanti. Then Arjavam. Arjavam is a very beautiful quality, which means straightforwardness. What I think, what I speak, and what I act are one. There is no duality. It's not I think something else, I say something else. I'm not going to do it anyway, but just to get rid of him, I say I'll give the charity, but I don't. No, what I mean is what I say, and what I say is what I will do. And what that means is that such a person is dependable. Once you assign him a job or her a job, they say, I will do it. And when they say, I will do it, then you don't have to ask second time, ye kaam ho gaya ki nahi? No, it will be 100% done. So Arjavam is dependability. It is straightforwardness. What I think, what I feel, and what I say, and what I do are all. But Arjavam is not foolishness. We think that, some people say, I am very straightforward. Whatever I think, I just say it. That is foolishness. Like somebody has bought a new sari and she has spent a lot of money. She said, how do you like this sari? Now, you don't like the sari, right? I mean, if it's not your, you don't go ahead and say, it's a hopeless thing. That is arjavam, right? Oh, I think of it and I just say it. No, you have to have ahimsa also there. You don't have to hurt somebody's feelings. You say, yeah, if you like it, you bought it, that's very good. I don't have to go out of my way to praise it, but at the same time, I should not hurt somebody's feelings. So just to say whatever I feel like, animals do that. I feel like doing it, I act on it. So I have to know where to speak, where not to speak, especially for a sadhaka. It is very important that I should not hurt others' feelings. So arjavam should not become a point of foolishness, a point of rudeness. If I don't want to say anything good, keep quiet. You know, the mothers always say, kuch bolna nahi, at least chup to raho. If you don't want to praise, keep yourself quiet. And if somebody asks diplomatically, so that is called arjavam. Then acharya upasanam. Now, these people have a lot of problem. Why should I serve the teacher? Why can't he serve himself? Why should I go bring him water, or why should I clean his hut? The word acharya has three meanings: achinoti, acharati, acharya sthapayati. So achinoti shastrartham. So acharya is one who has himself studied the scriptures. Shastra artham means not only he knows the Sanskrit meaning, but he knows the essence of the scriptures, what the Bhagavad Gita is telling, what the Upanishads are telling, what the Bible is telling, the essence he knows. Then acharati, then this person brings into his or her life. So a true acharya is not only one who knows the scriptures, but follows the scriptures. That's why they say that he should have himself the experience, not only the Brahmanistha. He should be Brahmanistha, not only be a scholar. So acharati. And then third is acharya sthapayati. A teacher not only himself follows, but make sure we follow through right knowledge and through his example or her example. So they say, stay in the company of wise people. And when you see how they apply these teachings in their life, then you learn from their example. That's why they say man is known by the company he keeps. So keep the company of good people. Then they say serving people, why should I clean his heart, or what? They say they don't need it, but it is for our own growth. So if I help a teacher, say he wants to write a book or he wants to give some talks, so I do his computer work. Okay, I will do the typing for you. I will do the computer work. I will do help you with the PowerPoint, so that the teacher can then go out and teach others, teach more people. The teacher himself does not need anything. If the teacher is physically there, you serve the teacher because you purify your mind and you develop humility and surrender. But if the teacher has left his body, like Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda, then how do I serve him? By understanding his teachings, reading the Bhagavad Gita, every day, so that I understand what Puja Gurudev meant to us. Helping his vision. His vision was to give maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. So I should become an instrument of Puja Gurudev and spread this knowledge. Not only that, but I should tune my mind with the teacher. So when I am listening to a teacher, I should tune my mind that what is the teacher really meaning by that, and understand that, and then apply that, not just mechanically take notes. As I was telling in another class, just taking notes is wasting stationery. Taking notes is good, but the idea is I should read the notes and then I should apply them. So tuning my mind with the teacher. So, but they say, why does the teacher need service? As I said, the teacher does not need service. In fact, he has left his home. If he had need, he would have stayed home, but they have taken sannyas, they have left their home, they have left their family, and they are put on orange clothes. with the idea Bhagwan will take care. Because if they wanted, they're all of them, especially the Swamijis of Chinmaya Mission, are brilliant people. They could have been very, very, materially progressed, like Swami Ishwaranandaji. A lot of us know him. He's in Los Angeles. He was working in a computer company in Bangalore much before computers were popular in the 70s and 80s. And if he had stayed there, he would have been CEO of some big company with a 6-figure income and palatial house and servants. He has left everything for his own growth and for our service. So they don't need anything. It is our benefit that we have to serve the teacher. So the example we have is Avadhut in the Bhagavad. We teach our children, these my 24 teachers. That is one of the topics in Balvihar. And where a king asks Avadhut, the saint, he says, how come you are so peaceful? We are all the time disturbed. Our mind is agitated. Avadhut says, I have 24 teachers. He says, 24 teachers? Yes. Example, from space, I have learned that accommodate all, do not get contaminated. From the fire, I have learned purify everything. From air, I have learned move around without getting attached. So from all these objects in nature, he had learned something or the other. And so he says, so the point is that teaching can happen everywhere. We just have to keep our mind alert. So that is called Acharya Upasanam. It is for our own benefit. Shaucham is purity. Purity is not only physical, but also mental. And that is very important. One is cleanliness of my surroundings, of my body. Body, we know there's about 24 different brands of shampoos and cleaning soaps. If you go to the grocery store, there's one aisle full of cleaning products. So physical cleanliness, we all know, but more important is cleanliness of surroundings. My closet should be clean. My desk should be clean. My paper should be organized. And more important, my mind should be clean. My mind should be filled with right values. These 20 values I should apply. So the purpose of studying Bhagavad Gita or any other spirituality is to change. If I have studied and if I don't apply, then it will cause disturbance. So this reminds me of a story. So there was this man who used to go to the Bible class. He went for 3-4 times and then he stopped going. So the preacher said, why did you stop coming to the class? He happened to notice. He said, every time I listen to you, my mind gets disturbed. So preacher says, no, I understand. Sometimes it is difficult to understand these teachings. You keep coming and you will understand. He says, no, problem is I do understand. I have understood the Bible. I have understood the Bhagavad Gita, but now I am not able to practice it. So that is the problem, that if I have studied, but if I have not been able to change my life, so they say develop viveka, that last time I did this, it was not good, it was harmful. It could be a physical action, speech, I said something rude to somebody, or I thought even a negative thought, and develop a pratipaksha bhavna. Pratipaksha bhavna means the opposite thought, that where there is anger, let there be love, where there is hatred, let there be compassion. So slowly changing my mind. And how does that happen? Satsanga. With the company of good people, with the company of saints, by listening to the Bhagavad Gita, all these teachings, by reading Swami Chinmayananda's. So that is called Shaucham. That is purity of mind, which leads to purity of speech, purity of action. The next one is Thairyam. Thairyam means steadfastness. What I have taken, I will do it. I'll not drop it. If it is something good for me, I will stick with it. And we find that a lot of problem in children. They say, soccer practice, I go to two classes, I don't like it, I'm going to quit. And I'm going to take basketball. So two practices, he leaves. Then third, he says, I want to play guitar. By now, mom is smart. She said, this kid never finishes. So she said, I'm not going to, I want to buy a new guitar. She said, I'm not going to buy you a new guitar. You borrow it or you rent it, because I know this kid won't. And same way, adults also, they never stay in one job, after 1 year, or this CEO was bad, or this boss was bad, or this company is no good, or this culture. Maybe there is a problem with you. Every year you are changing the job every year. And same thing people would do with spirituality. First, I used to like Vedanta, but now, I'm studying Buddhism. And third, Buddhism is not, I study German philosophy. So we keep changing even our spiritual path. They say, find what you like, what works for you, and then stick with it. This reminds me of a beautiful story. So this man was washed on an island, and he was all alone on a desert island. His boat crashed. And so this guy was for many years, he stayed there, and planes passed by. They didn't notice him. After a few years, he had made a sign and he waved, and one of the plane noticed. So they sent a helicopter to pick him up. So the helicopter, he's very happy. Oh, thank God, I'll be rescued. I've been all alone on this desert island for so many years. So they find 3 buildings. So they said, why did you have 3 buildings? He said, I made all 3 of them. He said, why 3 buildings? He said, one is my house. Okay, that's very good. What is the second one? That is my church. Okay, good. You have a house and you have a church. What is the third one? Oh, that was a church I used to go before, but I don't like it. So I switched church. So we keep changing, but that is not steadfastness. So like Buddha said, Shariram va patayami, karyam va sadayami. I will drop my body, but I will not quit this path until I attain nirvana, until I get what I want. That's why they say winners never quit, quitters never win. So once you have decided that this is my path, I'm a sadhaka, I'm a seeker, and I have to reach enlightenment, I have to reach Bhagwan, that is my goal. I will not quit regardless of what happens, regardless of how many obstacles come. And daily study, daily I must read the scriptures, daily I must listen to some good talks, daily I must maybe discuss, with my family, with our children, if they are studying in Bal Vihar, what are you studying, or with your spouse, or maybe, when you go for a walk with your friend or somebody, talk about these spiritual things so that by discussion, you will learn. The last value that is in this particular shloka is Atma Vinigraha. Atma means self, Nigraha means control. Vinigraha means Visheshena Nigraha, complete self-control. So control of my body, control of my mind, control of my intellect. Control does not mean suppression, that I don't see no evil, hear no evil. You can't do that. In the world, you have to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, but do not get fascinated so much that your mind, like intellectually, I have diabetes, I shouldn't eat sugar. But the mind says, theek hai yaar, once in a while, it's okay to eat sugar, and then you go and eat, and then your blood sugar goes 250, then your doctor gets mad, your hemoglobin A1C is high. It's okay, I'll take an extra pill. So the body, the mind, and the intellect should all stay in self-control, in the direction. What is my direction? What is my goal? I should not deviate from that. That is called Atma Vinigraha. Once I have my target for this lifetime, I should stay with it. The story of the rabbit and turtle, we all know, we tell our children, but that is an example of Atma Vinigraha. The rabbit, he could run fast, he could have easily won. But he said, it's so hot, let me relax for a while. So he let his mind take over and he went to sleep. But the turtle had sthairiam, remember the previous value. He said, I have steadfastness. I have to reach, even though the land is not suitable for the turtle, he does much better in water. But he slowly kept on walking till he reached his goal. So that is Thairyam and that is Atma Vinigraha. Okay, my goal should be very clear, and then I should not let my mind take me away or my physical comforts. Arey, I had promised to do this work, but aaj Sunday hai yaar, who is going to get up early in the morning and go and, do this service, build a home for humanity, or I had promised to feed the homeless, or I had promised to go to the mission and, organize the books. But no, once I have decided, I should do it. So that is called Stairyam. That is called Atma Vinigraha. So today, the qualities that we had studied is lack of pride, not showing off, non-violence in mind, speech, and action, forgiveness, straightforwardness, service to the teacher, purity of the body, surroundings, and mind, steadfastness, and self-control. There are 9 values, so we were only able to do 1 shloka, but each value, actually, you can talk a lot more. As we said, for our Bal Vihar teacher, 9 values takes 9 weeks, but we covered in 1 hour. So we are done here. What we will do is, we will just chant the second shloka, and I'll give the word by word meaning, but the detailed commentary we'll do next week. Very, very beautiful values. So Jagrati can please chant after us. This is shloka number 9, chapter 13. Indriyartheshu vairagyam.
Indriya arthesu vairagyam.
Anahankara evacha.
Anahankara evacha.
Janma mrityu jara vyadhi.
Janma mrityu jara vyadhi.
Dukkha dosha nudarshanam.
Dukkha doshanudarshanam.
All together. Indriyartheshu vairagyam. Ahankara evacha. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Dukkha dosha nudarshanam. So, Indriya Artha. Indriya means the senses. Artha means what do the senses want. So what do the senses want? Sense objects. I want to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha. So Indriya Artheshu, in the sense objects, Vairagyam. Now Vairagyam is a very scary word. Say that's why I don't come to Vedanta classes, these Bhagavad Gita. But all the time they talk Vairagyam. So I don't want Vairagyam. I want to stay and take care of my family. So, but what is Vairagyam? We'll talk about that next time. So he says, Vairagyam, detachment from sense objects. Anahankar. Ahankar means, one meaning of ahankar is pride or arrogance. We already covered that today. But ahankar also means the sense of finitude, that I am this body, and I am this limited creature, and I cannot do anything. So this finitude is also called ahankar evacha. So that's why Bhagavan Shri Krishna is mentioning ahankar a second time. Ahankar does not here mean pride. It means the idea that I am this useless human and I cannot accomplish much. Anahankar, right? Unlike happy and unhappy. So anahankar means lack of ahankar. Lack of arrogance, and lack of this feeling that I am this limited human. Anahankar. Yes, thank you. Anahankar evacha. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Janma is birth. Mrityu is death. Jara is old age. And vyadhi is sickness. And that is going to happen to all of us. We had janma, birth. We had mrityu, death will come. Jara, old age will come, Vyadhi, sickness will come. So Bhagavan Shri Krishna says this will happen to everybody, and dukkha, and life will have sorrow, because old age or illness will cause sorrow, but dosha anudarshanam. But understand that this is the lot of all, but I don't have to suffer it. See, one is to have these illnesses, and second is to suffer these illnesses. Dosha, so he says, disease is inevitable, suffering is optional. Problems will come, but do I let it bother me? That we'll talk about next time. Dukkha, dosha, anudarshanam. Darshanam means to see. Anu means constantly, repeatedly, continuously. So a wise person knows that life will bring me these, but how do I overcome them and how do I learn from them? So that is the value that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is telling us. So detachment from sense objects, not depending too much, not having the sense of pride and arrogance, and not also thinking I'm to be a useless, because the human is the highest creation of man, of God is the highest creation. So to think that I can't do it is also foolish. At least we are not a dog or a cat or a mosquito. We have the human intellect, so I can achieve that. But without arrogance, anahankar evacha, and then understand that janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, old age, sickness, death, and birth, all are sorrows. Birth is sorrow, old age is sorrow, sickness is sorrow, death is sorrow. But again, understand that and how to go beyond that. So that we'll talk next time. So I'll end over here. So this shloka number 9, we have only chanted. We will repeat and the chanting, and then we will discuss in detail. If you can, anybody has any questions to ask, anything to contribute, anything to agree, disagree. Yeah, Jagu, you want to say anything?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Kusum,
Thank you very much, Anilji.
Anji.
Really, very, very good. Every week you prepare a lot and we are benefiting from it. It really helps. Just want to prepare more and more for these things and hope I can practice them also. Try to, but sometimes it's hard.
Yes. Yes. No, it is difficult, especially when there are, physical or other, difficulties. But I think this right knowledge helps us. And I think having this knowledge, that's what we'll be talking next week also about Janma Mrityu. But thank you for your comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Anything else you would like to add? Yeah, go ahead.
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
Nothing more needs to be added, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Anji.
Very beautiful pravachan. I really enjoyed it. Very beautiful.
Thank you so much, Auntie. Thank you. Satish bhai, bolo.
Just quick question. Where does self-esteem stand in that humility part?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So it's the same as self-respect, self-esteem. So if I am proud to be a Hindu, then I should not only say I'm proud to be a Hindu, but I should know everything about Hinduism. I should know what the rishis have taught. If I'm proud to be a Christian, then I should know what Jesus meant in his teachings. If I am proud in my job, say I'm proud to be an engineer or I'm proud to be an accountant, then self-esteem is that I should do the good job there. Then only that is called self-esteem. That if I'm proud to be an employee, then I should be the best employee. If I'm proud to be an employer, I should be the best employer. If I'm proud to be a mother, I should be the best mother. If I'm proud to be a housewife, I should be the best housewife. So doing your job well to the best of your ability, so that is called self-esteem or self-pride. Otherwise, it just becomes arrogance. But if I'm proud of doing something, then I should do a good job and then I deserve to be proud of that.
Correct.
Does that
Okay,
answer your question?
Thank you.
But is
It does.
go ahead.
Self-esteem is typically literally here in a daily world is taken as like a self-confidence
Respect.
Yes.
or self-respect. But I knew there was a deeper meaning to that, not the superficial meaning of it.
Yeah,
The
no,
literal meaning.
self-confidence I should have. Self-confidence
Correct.
I should have. But it should be tempered with right action, full action in that direction.
It should not end up in arrogance.
Yeah, very good question. Thank you. Anything else you would like to add, Satish bhai?
No, thank you. This is amazing. I mean, we just need to keep reminding ourselves these values and practicing them. You know, like you said, if we practice one value in a day, you know, and continue with that cycle, I think life will be much more, you know, friendlier to us.
Absolutely, right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Neeru, you wanted to say something? Kusum, anything else you would like to add?
What Satish Bhai was saying is very important. And I remember a story of pride versus humility. That
Mhm.
was once the king of Kashi and king of Ayodhya were coming from opposite directions with their respective chariots and army. So the road was very narrow. So only one of the two powerful kings would be able to give way. So what happened, the king of Kashi sent a message because he was very proud. He said, it's the pride and the prestige of the king of Kashi that we never give way to other kings. That means he wanted to cross the road first. Then the king of Ayodhya sent back a message saying, it is the pride of the kings of Ayodhya that we always give way for the other kings. So the humility won over that day. So I thought that is, like you said, that you have to be confident and you have to be showing what is right you're doing it to show the way it is humility. I thought this was beautiful though.
Thank you. That's a nice story. Thank you so much. Yeah, Carrie, go ahead.
Well, you know, I think these 20 values are so important. And I really can't understand why, you know, you would teach youth, you know, one a week, because I was actually thinking myself, what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to pick one of these values and I'm going to try to spend a little time every day meditating on it and thinking of how I put it to use in my life. Because, you know, it's just one word, you know, ahimsa, you know, and the other words. And yet it's you could think on it for many, many days, just one word. So it's really good, you know, are talking about them today, but I'm going to choose one.
Thank you.
myself.
That's very good. That's what I had said last time, that write them on a board or in your kitchen or somewhere in big
Mhm.
letters.
Yes.
And then pick one that I will practice either for this day or this whole week. And then each one, these 20 values will change our life if we can practice. Even Guruji had one time said, even you pick one value, ahimsa or amanitvam, I won't show off. And just humility, just practice one value 100%, you will get what. That's what Gandhiji did. He practiced.
Said that all the others come.
All others come with it. That's what Gandhiji said. He said, I'll only practice ahimsa and everything else came with it. So you take one value, practice it fully, as Neeru said, all others come automatically. Once you practice one, everything will come, like, you know, not showing off or not being proud, being humble. When there's humility, automatically there is non-violence, automatically there is compassion, automatically there is understanding. So yeah, these values are beautiful. That's why Bhagwan in every chapter, he makes sure he gives a certain value. He never forgets why, you know, what is our faults, where not faults, but where are we lacking in this spiritual journey? So he never forgets that. And he keeps reminding us. That's why repeated studying of Bhagavad Gita is very beneficial. And it helps me because I have to read at least 3-4 times to prepare. So I benefit more than any of you. So
They will come
I should
again
thank
in the
them.
16th chapter.
Yeah, they will come again in 16th chapter, everywhere they come. Even in 14th chapter,
Yeah.
it is there. in 15 chapter is full of it. So everywhere it is there, these teachings again and again.
And Anilji, it's also like we are predisposed to certain qualities over the others, and some qualities come very easy to us, like it's a part of our nature. And for some, we have to work hard. They are very connected. I was about to say before Neeruji, when Neeruji said it, yes, they're all connected and one leads to the other, but we follow or we gravitate more towards one or, more than the other. I have
Yes.
experienced that.
Yeah, and what is your nature? Each one knows their nature and what you are good at, and the others, either they will follow, or if I don't have them, maybe how can I get more? If I am
The quest
Right.
is definitely on. We are very aware to that, but they don't come as easy. You have to work hard towards that. What to stay, to be straightforward or not. How is it going to impact and all of that? But humility being at the grassroots, like in my case, that's how I see myself, of course, with my eyes.
Very good. Yeah, straightforward should not be accompanied by violence. Like you don't just tell somebody, oh, you have gained too much weight, for example. These things like that. The person may have, but you have to keep. These are typical examples where you may be telling the truth, but then you are hurting everybody. So a true seeker of truth should make sure that my words are not hurting others. That's very, very important. That's the ahimsa is number one. That am I hurting anybody? It could be not only by my words, sometimes by my body language. I may convey that I don't care for you. So one has to, is every action of mine, is it contributing to bringing people together or separating? So that is very important. So am I creating oneness or division? So when the goal is that I'm a spiritual seeker, then my goal should be not to hurt anybody.
True.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you so much.
Can I just add a little bit,
Sure.
please?
Go ahead.
Since it was Mahatma Gandhiji's anniversary yesterday, I just remembered a sentence saying, a person asked Mahatma Gandhiji if he had any ambitions. So Gandhiji replied that I have a big ambition. I want to make myself zero.
न तंत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेम विद्युतो भाति कृतो यमग्निय तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, Arati Shri Chinmaya Sadguru ki Divya Rupa Murati Karuna ki Arati Sadguru ki Unke Shanti Samaye शरणागत की भ्रांति मिटाए पाप ताप संताप हरण की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की वेद उपनिषद गीता को गाया धर्म सनातन फिर से जगाया शुद्ध नीति प्रीति शंकर की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की सिद्धि बाड़ी की तपोभूमि में नित्य विराजे गुरु हमारे श्रोत भक्त हृदयानंद श्रोत की आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की आरती सद्गुरु की.
बोलिए श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय. श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. Everybody can please take the aarti. Thank you.
कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रिये वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृति स्वभावा करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणेति समर्पयामि नारायणेति समर्पयामि असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिगमय मृत्यो मा अमृतमगमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम
Okay, thank you very much. Hari Om. See you all next week.